What's going on, guys? Aaron here on Easy Street, professional driver, amateur human. So I wanted to make a video because I listened to a guy last night, and it really threw me off seeing his numbers for a lease purchase at another company. So I wanted to make this video to kind of explain whether I think that company's lease purchase is good or bad. That's coming up right after the intro. So I saw a video the other day, or yesterday I think, from a guy who drives for Swift. Now, as some of you guys know, Swift was my first company. I did do a lease through them. They don't do straight lease, so I guess it was a lease purchase that I walked away from after a couple years. And so I kind of have an idea of how it ran back then, back in 2017 and 18. And I was curious. I was like, hey, what's changed? This guy's like, hey, I'm going to break down my numbers. Cool. Let's see what's changed. I love a good numbers breakdown. I'm a numbers guy. I'm always interested in what my numbers are, even to the point of, like, just today, my wife and I were going over it, and we were figuring out the numbers. I typically will do my own taxes. And we broke down the numbers all the way down to how much time off, how much revenue I'd lose on that time off, throughout the year to file my quarterly taxes and my yearly taxes, to find out whether or not hiring an accountant would be more beneficial to me. So I like numbers. So I clicked on this video, and I was dumbfounded. Now, I do want to preface by saying Swift is starting a percentage-based program. I know nothing about it. This driver was not on that program, so I can't speak on that and how they'll do on that, or even how it works. But their mileage program that they still have is set at $1.15 a mile, plus fuel surcharge, whatever. And I was kind of flabbergasted by that, because 10 years ago they were paying $1.12 a mile, and obviously freight rates have gone way up since then. Sure, they've had peaks and valleys, but freight rates have gone way up since then, more than just 3 cents a mile. And so I was wondering, why is Swift not paying more? Now, granted, it does sound like their fuel surcharge is a little bit better, is a little bit more in line with, nationwide companies' averages. Now, I didn't do a breakdown of the per mile on that. When I was there, it was like 5 to 8 cents per mile. So they appear to have gotten better on that. Now, they'll entice you by saying that, oh, you're only going to pay $600 or whatever a week for a truck payment. That doesn't have an APU, by the way. You have to pay extra for that, and pay it up front out of pocket for them to put one on your truck. But they make it look good. They're like, oh, it's only going to be a $600 truck payment. And that's for 4 years. And then after that, there's a $90,000 balloon payment. What? $90,000. Sure. Can people make that $90,000 in 4 years and have that set aside? Possibly. I don't know well enough their average miles or anything like that, or their average take home. But it was like, I mean, So it came out to what, $190,000, $200,000. Whereas at Prime, you pay for a brand new truck. I'm paying like $1,270 a week, plus $100 for the APU on a 3-year lease. Now, I'm assuming, well, looking at it, it's about the same price to do lease purchase. I'm in a regular lease right now, but lease purchase, about the same price, within a few dollars. But after 3 years, you've paid about the same $190,000 or $200,000, whatever it is. I didn't do the math on it, but you only pay $100 balloon payment. That's why people walk away from Swift. They start realizing that they're not, or that they're being taken advantage of. Now, do I know 100% that Prime is giving us exactly what they say they're giving us? No, I don't. And in all honesty, I care, but I don't. In my opinion, I'm accepting or declining loads based on my needs, my truck's needs, and where I need to be. And that's going to be another video, actually, probably next week. But, you know, I was looking at this breakdown, and, you know, it just blew me away that this guy, and he said he has no plans to leave Swift. He loves what he does, and that's fine. You know, and he's talking about owning that truck and, you know, adding 2 more years onto the lease at the end to get that $90,000 payment down. But at that point, you're stuck in a truck with no warranty. You know, by the time you've paid it and got it down, you've got no warranty left. Company might not even want your truck. I know Prime at 6 years has the trucks out of the fleet. And, you know, so it's just, it blew me away. Because, you know, the $1.15 a mile plus fuel surcharge probably puts them somewhere around $1.50, $1.60 a mile, provided they're around the same fuel surcharges where we're at. Now, for me, for this lease, I'm coming up on 2 months now, and my average is $1.81 for the mileage, and I'm averaging 44 cents on fuel surcharge. Now, that comes out to what? Or $1.82 and 44, because it was $2.26 a mile, I think. You know, you add in the stop pays I've gotten, the detention I've gotten, that kind of stuff, I'm actually sitting at $2.55 a mile for my average revenue. And, you know, that's great. I'm happy with it. But then you look more at the expense differences. And this guy said that he gets a discount of 5 cents at the Big 5 or Big 3, depending on how you look at it. The Loves, TA Petro, Pilot Flying J. He gets 5 cents off per gallon. We're averaging somewhere in the ballpark of, you know, I've seen it as low as like 50 or 60 cents off. I've seen it as high as like $1.10 off a gallon. And that's when you include the fuel tax. So I did the math the other day. Actually yesterday, yeah, when I fueled. I did the math on it. And that guy on the same fueling that I did, it was like 120 gallons or 130 gallons, something like that. He would have saved like $6 and some change on fuel. I saved $100 on fuel. Do I know that I'm getting exactly the same discount and 100% of the discount Prime's getting? I don't. But it's damn sure a lot better than it could be. And, you know, sure, we have other stuff that we have to do, or that we have to pay for, that I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not upset with it either. we have our tire fund and stuff. That's fine. The mileage fund that helps pay for repairs or whatever. Should you walk away from the lease, I do an e-fund. But like, I don't agree with, say, reefer fuel. I don't feel that it's not my load. I shouldn't have to pay for it. I'm running it the way the customer wants it run. It's not like I'm, told it's a, 55-degree start-stop load, and I intentionally run it on continuous just to run down the fuel. It just kind of threw me off, and it made me feel bad, because this guy's taking home, and he's happy to take home, $900, $1,000 for a week, and great, that more power to him. Like, if you work where you feel that you're getting paid what you're worth. But man, it threw me off that they're not getting discounts, and they have a $90,000 balloon payment at the end. Just blows me away that to buy that truck after paying on it for 4 years, he's gonna have to pay $90,000 more. Whereas if you're at Prime, the higher pay offsets the higher expense of the truck. But again, after 3 years, you only have to pay $100 to own that truck free and clear. It just goes to show that Swift has not improved since I was there. Sure, they say they have a load board now. They say they're moving to percentage pay. But Swift is keeping everything that they should be giving to the drivers. Now, I understand, I'm with Prime. Prime's a business too. They're in it to make money too. So, yeah, I have seen, they tell us what they're going to pay us in fuel surcharge, and it might be 45 cents or whatever. And they send us the invoices and the freight bills every week with our pay settlement. And I see that sometimes they're getting like 61 cents in fuel surcharge. Do I wish I had that? Sure. But I'm not, they're at least doing decently. Do I know that Prime is only getting 50 cents off at XYZ truck stop? No. But when you compare it to somebody who's only getting 5 cents off, that's a huge deal. And I don't know how companies can get away with that. I've seen Prime always as transparent. This week, I'm not going to talk too much about it because, it's an in-house meeting, but, the fuel guy, the guy in charge of our fuel network, came up and basically said, I went to this particular vendor and said, hey, this is not what we agreed to. Just because you changed your system doesn't mean that you can just ignore what we had set up. And so it was actually like pretty cool to see that, he was transparent enough to say, hey, I hear you. I hear that you guys are upset with the way that they treated you after this switch. So I went in and fought for you. You got a Swift, and I looked at one of the Swift public meeting things, where they have, different heads at, the conference table trying to tell you what they've done. And it feels like, sure, they're working on it, but they're not working on what drivers need. They're paying attention to what drivers want because the drivers don't know any better. So the drivers don't know what they need and where they're getting ripped off. Yeah, Swift is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So is Prime. And yet, us drivers are much better taken care of than Swift drivers. We have this massive terminal in Springfield. And when I say massive, I actually looked it up. It sits on 128 acres in Springfield. Massive terminal. And it's got just about every single amenity you can think of. Everything from a gym, weight room, but, even things you don't think of. It's got a mail room. It's got a chiropractor. It's got a salon. It's got a massage parlor. It's got a doctor's office, a sleep lab, the basketball courts, a 24-hour cafe. Just so much. And I'm probably even missing some stuff too. Like, that's just what's on the top of my head. But these other big companies, their headquarters aren't the same. I worked at Warner for a little bit. Their headquarters, you talk to your dispatcher through glass. At Swift, it was a locked door. They had to come open it to let you in. And, stuff like that. It's like, it's almost like Prime and Robert Lowe are actually giving back to the drivers and realizing the little comforts that drivers appreciate having out there on the road. If it's going to be a home away from home, make it feel like home. So, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but I was angry for that Swift driver. And he didn't know. He was happy. He even was like, I'm not going to pay attention to any of the negative comments. Good for you, man. Like, I know you probably won't see this, but good for you. I appreciate that you know what works for you. But man, I was getting angry for him just seeing how he's treated. And my, sure, I had a break, but my almost 10 years out here, I've seen different sides of everything. And, at least at the big companies. And it made me mad. That's all I can really say. But hey, that guy, he took my words to heart. And I don't mean that I said anything to him and he responded. But the words I say every time I'm on camera here. And that is to look past the junk in life, because everything is beautiful. I commend you, sir, for that. I would really urge you to take a look at other options. But I appreciate you. Yeah, guys. Remember to stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll see you later.